Hey guys, we just finished filming another episode of the Almost Made It podcast. This week we had in the studio Amy Schembri, author of Making It or Not.
We spoke about what sparked her interest in writing the book and the valuable lessons it can have on parents, players, and anyone involved in the game.
Let's jump straight in. Welcome back to another episode of the Almost Made It podcast, proudly brought to you by Cultural Club. Another very interesting episode today, something, again, a little bit different. We have in the studio Amy Schembri. She is a author of a new book releasing very soon. Can I reveal the title? It's called Making It or Not. Pretty much in a nutshell, I think it's really special before even having read it, but I think it resonates massively with us and the podcast and the brand and everything we do. So I thought this would be an unbelievable chat.
Yeah.
Because it just goes hand in hand. So
absolutely.
Welcome to the studio.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Well, first question that came to my head that I wanted to ask you is why? Like, what inspired you to get into this and write the book?
All right. So it was my kids in a nutshell. I've got 3 boys. They all play. And in one trial period, I had one of them not make it into an NPL squad. I had one of them have his entire team go up into the A team, except for him and 2 others. And I had one be told, you've been playing in the A team for the whole year, but perhaps you shouldn't be. You should be in the B team. Or by technical directors or coaches or whatever. And we went home, and as you can imagine, that was a tough time in my household. And especially one of my kids, he cried a lot for close to 2 weeks, just trying to process it. And I became very worried. I'm also a daughter, sister, auntie, granddaughter, niece of soccer players. And I've seen firsthand the trauma that it can cause from deselection. And at that time, my kids were only 12, 10, and 8 years old. And I just didn't want to see them carry that rejection throughout their life without understanding that this is a normal part of the process. And how do you teach that to an 8-year-old? You know, so I went searching for something, anything, a book that they could read to understand that, you know, all players go through trials, tribulations, setback, all these things, and it's a normal part of the process. To normalise it, to make them feel like this is okay, I don't have to quit, I can keep going, I can still play the game I love, because at the end of the day, they're just children. And I couldn't find one. So I put pen to paper and off we went. And as I was starting to get these ideas in my head about what it was going to look like, I knew Diogo Ferreira, and I ran the idea by him, and he said, yes, please. I think him, not just being a player but also a coach of young kids, has seen a lot of this as well, and he said we need it. And the parents need it, because even me as a parent, I didn't know how to help my children, you know. And I said to him, well, you know, can I interview you? Are you happy to share your full story and, you know, teach these kids what it's really like and that it's normal to experience setbacks and, you know, there are other things and that you can do within the football industry, or that there's, you know, other things that can make you happy. And you don't have to quit. You can still play. And he was on board immediately. And then from there, he introduced me to Josh and Taranto sisters. And then the Taranto sisters introduced me to Chloe. And it went on from there and there.
Had you ever written a book before this?
Never.
Wow. So how does it start? Well, honestly, I'm interested. Like, what do you do? Just grab a piece of paper and just...
I swear to you, if you had asked me 5 years ago, would you write a book? I would have laughed in your face.
Yeah.
Right?
No, that's why I'm always interested. Like, if someone that he's never ridden before. How does that idea come to you?
So I was at work one day and I was on my lunch break, and it was during the time that, my kids were going through, well, one in particular was really struggling with his setback. And I just did like a journal entry, and I'm not a journal writer or anything like that, but that day I think I just had to get it off my chest.
Yeah.
So I just started writing, and it went from there. I went home, I showed my husband, he goes, "Oh, you're actually onto something here." And it just it's like it was meant to happen because everything after that just kind of fell into place. It flowed. Yeah, 100%.
Well, it's super important, I think, what you're doing. And it's amazing to hear that. I guess there's something, or someone else has seen what we've experienced. And I think, it's important to highlight the fact that pretty much we just said off air, there's a lot more that don't make it compared to the ones that do. And I feel like everyone has a story when trying to make it. And I guess that's what we try to do here. So it's nice that, someone else is on the same page. And I guess if we can help together, we can help kids and people struggling through it. I think that's a massive win for us.
Yeah, that's the same. And, I've always said this book, if I can help one child or prevent one child from spiraling, my job is done.
Yeah.
Obviously, I'd like to help hundreds of them, and maybe it will. I may never know, but to setting out on this journey, that's what kept me going. That's what those days when I was exhausted. I just finished a day of work and I had to go home, and I still had to have my head in my laptop till midnight, and it was tough. But when I thought about what it could do, that's what helped.
Has understanding all of this helped your children as well get through it?
Yeah. So my middle son tends to put a lot of pressure on himself, I think, to achieve great things. And I actually gave him the manuscript one day and I said, "Here, mate, just read it." And it was good because he ended up being a bit of a beta reader, so he went through and he said, "Ma, you spelt this wrong." He was happy to tell me all the flaws. Right. And I said, "That's all right." I gave him a highlighter. I said, anything you see that's, we need to fix, highlight it. So he was there with his highlighter, whatever. And then at the end of the book, I have a series of questions that I ask the kids or the reader to have a discussion with, whether it be your parents, teammates, whatever. And it just makes them think about, do I have a greater understanding now of what it truly takes? How would I feel if I had to leave my family? If I don't make it in soccer, what else do I love? If I don't make it in the big leagues, can I still play in the lower leagues? Will I still be happy? All these things that get them to think about it. And I did it with him. And, it worked. It worked. I sort of, used him as my guinea pig. Yeah.
Well, I think that's important because the problem, not the problem, but like you said, kids develop at different ages, different stages. Everyone's on their own journey.
Yeah.
So, like, for example, your son doesn't make the A team in under 8s.
Yeah.
And that there might be kids in that A team at 12 that then don't progress at all.
Yeah.
And then he just keeps going.
Yeah, that's right.
Like, obviously at the time, your kid, of any kid, is going to be down and hurt, but it's a long game.
Yeah, that's
what
right.
I mean? So
it's just trying to get them to understand that.
Exactly. Then that's the whole
they
purpose.
just automatically think, "Oh, I'm not good enough.
Exactly right.
I'm not going to achieve my dreams." And don't get me wrong, my kids are quite realistic, which I'm really proud of. They sit there and they go, "Well, I probably may not ever get a pro contract, but I might be able to play at NPL level one day." I think that's a realistic thing. And I get what you're saying because my 12-year-old back then, who is now 14 going on 15, just this year was told, "You're ready for NPL."
Yeah, exactly.
There you go.
He's had his growth spurt, he's grown into his body.
That's another thing.
He's learned.
Confidence.
He's more confident. He came runner-up in Best and Fairest this year. So it's boosted his confidence.
100%.
And he's ready now.
Yeah.
So how can you tell at
You can't.
8 or 9?
Because also, we've seen it, the big players, the taller, the more physical players in under 10s, 12s,
Yeah.
they're big. Then when he 15, 16, they don't grow
Everyone
anymore.
catches
So
up.
everyone
They stop.
catches up.
And everyone
so
else keeps going.
Domination doesn't continue.
That's
and it's
right.
like everything levels out and then, everyone goes their own sort of way.
Correct.
So
Yeah.
it's to get kids to understand that would be huge,
It's massive. And that's the thing. And then, there's this thing of, you can try and tell them
of
as a
course.
parent, but they're,
not
your
gonna
mum,
listen. Yeah, they're not
your
gonna listen.
dad.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, you don't understand,
Yeah.
You can get the grandparents to talk to them. You don't understand.
Sure.
But if they're hearing the stories of what their idols went through,
Exactly right.
these Matildas, Socceroos, A-League players, this kid that almost played for Liverpool's first team, they're likely to believe them,
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Exactly. Well, one of our great coaches, Alan Davidson, who we had on the podcast too, he used to tell us all the time, like, everyone can be matched up until 16, anywhere in the world. Like, if you're good enough,
Like with natural ability.
and whatever,
all that, then you got to.
the next step is where, you really show what you're worth. But up until 16, you can match it pretty much anywhere.
Yeah.
But
I'm
also,
talking to like the top.
And you
but
got to
still.
think too, when you get to a certain level, everyone's good.
Yeah, exactly.
That's right.
It's your point of difference. What do you offer? You have to have something different because everyone can play at the top level.
Yeah.
So-
And sometimes it gets to a point where it's survival of the mental toughest,
And that's
Correct.
exactly right.
Correct.
right? So we are sometimes, and I understand that coaches and clubs and those sorts have to make hard decisions. But what are we doing to stop these kids from crumbling or believing they're not good enough or all these things? Not much,
Yeah.
right?
100%.
Not much.
No, not really.
So the stories in the book with these players, they learn that sometimes it's the other messages, it's the resilience, I'll tell you. So starting from Diogo, his biggest message is success can look different for everyone,
Yeah.
right? He finds success now, despite his level of success, as a coach. That's where he feels the most successful, right? Callum teaches you that sometimes you need to pivot. He was heading in a direction where I'm telling you guys, he was on the cusp. Like he was playing with Marcus Rashford, Trent Alexander-Arnold. I mean, these are big names, right? And he had to pivot his journey for reasons you'll find out when you read the book.
Yeah.
That's Callum's. Josh, the importance of having an identity outside of being a footballer, because sometimes you can have that identity and carry that with you, and then if things don't turn out the way that you hoped, you can have an identity crisis.
That was a huge one for me personally.
There you go, see?
Like that, I think that's what affected me the most.
Yeah.
Just, I felt like without football, like, what am
Who
I?
am I?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there
Yeah.
was nothing else.
That's right.
And like growing up at school, it was always like, you're the football kid.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then when it doesn't happen, like you said before, Maddie, you almost feel ashamed.
You still are
Yeah.
that football
Yeah.
person, but then you got to go like, so I did have this, but then you got honestly, it's never going to go away.
No.
I don't care what anyone says. Like, it's still there, but you just know that, you got to go over it again. And
Yeah.
you're like, here we go.
Yeah.
Every time you meet someone new,
Yeah.
you gotta go through the
Yeah,
whole
it brings
thing.
it all back.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
like it is what it is. Like, don't get me wrong. It's obviously you cope with it now, but at the start, it's like you just like, no, I don't want to talk about it.
I think the biggest thing that helped me was realizing, like, yes, it didn't happen, but we got close. We had an amazing experience. We got a lot further. We got further than a lot of other people.
Yep.
And that helps just make you feel a little bit better about yourself.
Absolutely.
But now, we've built this.
More
so
mature
it's-
too, like, I think.
yeah,
for it.
definitely.
And don't forget, guys, the other things that you got out of it
Exactly.
as
It's
being
huge.
footballers,
Huge.
the friends you made,
Yeah.
the connections you made, the travel,
Yeah, travel.
That's massive.
I think
Right?
we grew up quick as well. Like, when we came
the
back,
maturity, yeah.
and even people our own age,
Excuse me.
it was like, I was like, man, they're kids. Like, these people, like,
Yeah.
not being rude, but I was like,
Yeah.
man, like, what does your mum still, like, give you your food in your mouth? Like, type of thing, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because, like, we'd done everything by ourselves at such a young age.
Yeah.
And then it was like, well, but it was good because then straight away we were able to then, do what we had to do.
Yeah. So be proud of those things that you got out of it because like you said, a lot of people would have dreamed to have
Yeah.
gotten as far as you
Yeah.
Yeah.
and they'll
That's
never
true.
get not even close. So that was Who do I say last?
Josh.
That was Josh.
Yeah.
All right. So that was
Yeah.
Josh having an identity outside of was it soccer, football, whatever.
Whatever you want to call it.
Cultural, maybe, I don't know.
Better.
And then, all right, the girls. So the Taranto sisters, they're big on reminding yourself constantly to have fun. Continue to enjoy the game and sometimes the higher you get, the less you forget to enjoy it, because there's all that extra pressure and all those things. And when you're enjoying it, you play better, right?
Exactly.
Because you're not carrying that stress, that
100%.
anxiety or whatever. Chloe, with her it was sometimes taking a step back, whether that means just stopping playing for a while to rekindle that love. We see so much of it these days. These kids training 5-6 days a week.
We say it all the time.
By 12, they're not going to want to play anymore.
You've got a 6-year-old doing strength and conditioning at 6 years old. Mate, they don't even have muscles. Just enjoy, just play, have fun.
And as a parent, let me, and I'm going to say this on behalf of many parents, I'm sure, you don't know what you're doing. You think
Exactly.
you're trying to keep up with the Joneses, right?
Exactly.
Because this kid's doing this kid's doing this kid's doing that. If my kid's not
And they're
doing
putting
that,
it on Instagram.
what are the oh, that's another issue.
Yeah.
I'll come back to that. Right? Don't worry, I've got a few things to say about that. But they're thinking, if I don't put my kid into this, then chances are they might get dropped from their team or their A team, whatever it might be, and that's doing them an injustice. So, we better get them into this too.
Sure.
And so it's this culture of putting your kids into all this structured training is burning our kids out.
Sure.
Right? And then there's social media. You were talking before about, your identity. How many kids have got Instagram pages where it's all about their football? And they're 10, 12.
No, I don't want to get started on that.
And I
already
think,
don't like Instagram as it is.
But, you think that it's no big deal until you realise, hang on, something happens, and then all of a sudden you go, so their whole identity or their life has been all footballer.
And I think also they start doing it for the wrong reasons. Because they're doing it for their
attention.
Instagram image.
Yeah.
It's like, do you actually love playing football, or do you just want your highlight clip on Instagram,
exactly.
not making a few people?
Yeah.
Like, to be honest, if I couldn't give two shits about my Instagram, I want to make it and play football, Then when people know who I am, I know who I am. I don't have to post on Instagram.
Yeah, that's right.
But as in, they're young, so they're getting brainwashed into
where
this
the culture's going.
world
It's a
of,
different world now,
Like, I
yeah.
can't stand it. Like, we always talk about it. And then it's just like, we look at when we grew up, like, it was just like a raw, like, playing on the street, whatever,
Yes.
doing dumb things like making this tree and that pole like the goals and just go out and pretend that you're doing this and that. That's the beauty of playing.
Yeah.
Not that 6, you go in here, do this, you got a 40-minute stretch and do 10 push.
I remember when we were younger, growing up together, we'd have training and
Yeah.
then we'd go to each other's house for
all
dinner or
kinds,
whatever
yeah.
after training.
Yeah.
But as soon as we finished, we'd be outside again playing.
Yeah.
And it wasn't like not because we had to, because we need to get more touches on the ball. It's genuinely because we loved it
Yeah.
and we just loved playing. And I think that element you hardly see anymore.
No, it's quite sad.
And that's
Yeah.
the way
Quite
we
sad.
play. Like, I know their attributes is our technicality, and that's why I'm a strong believer is because of that. We just
Because you
enjoyed what we
enjoyed
did.
playing
Like, we
outside
would
after
watch-
dinner.
I would watch things
That's
on
it.
YouTube, or even like we'd play FIFA straight on PS 2, and there'd be like tricks on there, and like Ronaldinho will do it, and then we'd try to replicate it. Like, for me, that's the essence of like learning things, not just becoming robotic. Like,
Yes.
you know what I mean? And then you play like a robot.
Yeah.
I like that like spark, you play on instinct, and there's not many players like that. anymore.
No, there's not.
Yeah.
They're all playing it safe because they're all
Yeah.
too scared.
Yeah.
Exactly.
You can see it
Yeah.
when you watch the games.
Definitely.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
That number 10, that creative player.
Yeah, it
That's
doesn't
why-
exist.
Yeah.
Does that exist anymore?
Nah.
I'm not so sure.
No, not really.
Not that I can
Not like
remember.
they used to.
Nah.
Yeah.
way.
Yeah.
There's something you mentioned before that I actually wanted to bring up.
Yeah.
How you're talking about loneliness and all those other things that come along with potentially trying to become a footballer, like leaving your family and all
Yeah.
these sort of things.
Yeah.
That as soon as you said that, I was like, these are the sort of things that you don't even think about
No. You
when
don't.
you're trying to make it. You're so focused on just becoming
It's the most
professional.
important.
But
Yeah.
I remember the first time
Yeah.
I left, I was like, yep, can't wait, get on that plane.
Yeah.
And then what happens after training?
Yeah, you got nothing to do.
then what? That's when I think like it all
It's
sort
the
of starts
day-to-day stuff,
crashing
isn't
down.
it,
Yeah.
that you don't think about. And it's certainly not to put anybody off, but I just
Nah,
sort
but
of
no,
think
I
It's a reality.
understand.
It's a reality.
if you guys had have read something like this before you went all those years ago, whenever that time was, right, when you felt those moments of loneliness and you understood that, Diogo felt that when he was in Porto or, Josh felt that when he had to move away from his family or whatever, or Chloe, Emily, Callum talks heavily about how he felt when he had to leave his family, and you realised it was normal,
Yeah,
wouldn't that have made you just feel a little bit more resilient
for sure.
and empowered to get through that time?
Because you can think about that and you can think of guys like that.
Yeah. For so long, these things weren't spoken about.
It's like I always say, I wish I had the mentality I have now.
Oh, don't we all say that?
Yeah.
Like, I know it's easy to say, but like in football terms, like, because just when you're a kid, you're so naive. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know, you're just like,
Yeah.
I don't know, you know what I mean? It's hard. But
You got that tunnel vision.
and
Yeah.
Yeah.
and obviously, like, to be fair, all this stuff, we're not that old, but like, we didn't talk about all these type of things. Like, it wasn't, you don't talk about like, oh, you're feeling down or just like, it's like
It's
harder.
different
being
now,
tough,
but it's
this, that. I'm not saying that was the reason, but now it's just so many different avenues you can go through and talk to people about, or even like you have people's experiences that you can
Yeah.
relate on. No one would say anything back in the day, so you wouldn't know.
no.
You'd think you're the only one going through stuff like that.
Yeah, yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's like
Yeah.
one of them things, which is why I think it's important, the awareness that you're bringing with the book.
Yeah, and likewise with your podcast. And you know what? I met this girl randomly just at Ultra Football one day. I was sitting down just to have a coffee there. My kids were getting kitted up for their teams. And just sat there and we got talking, whatever, and someone brought up, one of my kids I think brought up the book and they're like, oh, tell me about it. So I was just brief explanation about it. This girl came and sat next to me and sat with me for a good half an hour and poured her heart out. Yeah. And she ended up saying to me, she goes, let me know when it's available. She goes, because I want to read it, because I want to know that I'm not alone when I went through it. So she it affected her mentally in the end. And she just wanted to get find some solace in what she had gone through.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And, I had I think he was a 70-year-old guy tell me, I haven't thought about my junior days until you brought up this book that you've written. And I went through some tough times and I'd like to read it so that I can process what I went through. Now, this guy's 70. So when did this happen? Like 60 years ago?
Must
And
have
he's
a good
been
memory.
carrying it for that long. Yeah, he's still switched on. Yeah, he's still sharp. And I think, wow. But like you said, back then, you didn't talk about it.
Yeah.
So you did, of course, naturally you felt alone and ashamed and all those things that you were mentioning before.
People don't realise, like, people that take football, like, they really love it. It means a lot to you personally. So, like, when these things don't go right, you take it, it really hits hard, because it's like your life and whatever.
Yeah.
And it's like, even now, like, I can't imagine life without football, let's say. And these 7-year-old, this guy here is probably the exact same when he was growing up.
Yeah.
Probably even more because he didn't have the technology. It was football. That was their hobby, their way out of everything. That's what they do with their mates.
Yeah.
So probably it hit him even harder, I reckon, in a way.
Yeah.
Because now kids have so much things to do as well. You know,
Yeah.
they play football, but there's so much going on. Back then, 7-year-old,
There was
mate, what are you
nothing
doing?
else.
You going to school or you going to play football? That's your day.
Yeah.
I was writing these questions
Yeah.
and I was thinking to myself, I was sort of trying to just reflect on my journey as well and Matt as well.
Mm.
And I feel like it's almost become now, because we've had this brand and podcast for a while.
Mm.
We've told our story a few times and we sort of just regurgitate it.
Mm.
And then when I was writing these questions, I was like, I haven't really thought about it properly for so long. And it just brought back so many like feelings that you haven't thought about for ages. So
Yeah.
I think like I can't wait to read the book because I feel like
Yeah.
you just connect
It
with
will
people.
resonate
Yeah,
with
exactly.
you guys. It will.
Yeah.
It will. You'll read a lot of the setbacks and things and go, oh, yeah, I remember feeling that, or I remember going through that, or all these things. And hopefully it'll
No, definitely.
make you feel better.
No, for sure.
Was there anything that surprised you or like anything that you weren't expecting without revealing too much?
Emily didn't start playing till she was 12.
to be gone.
Yeah. You know, everyone else, you know, in comparison to Callum, who started at 4.
Yeah.
Yeah. You started late too.
Yeah. I used to play indoor.
So you started in what, futsal?
Yeah, just playing and mucking around on the
Yeah,
street.
yeah,
And
yeah.
then I think I joined the team in under 12s
Yeah.
as well.
But that's good. I've heard that futsal's really
But-
great for skill development
yeah.
and
I'm
quick
being honest,
thinking and
if
all those things.
It's like the way I play is that's the reason the way I play, because I think I wasn't
In the system.
in a structured system. So I like to, like, you know, try things myself and do my own
You
thing.
get creative.
Yeah, and like I play on instinct.
Yeah.
That's how I play.
Yeah.
And then, like, when I used to get too, like, coached where it was, like, I felt restricted, I felt like a robot. And that's, I think, like, but it was my attribute in a way. That's what
Yeah.
made me, a different player, you know what I
yeah,
mean? So
yeah.
I think that helped not being in a system at, like, say, under 7s, under 8s, where you're just, like, you know, you got to control the ball for this side. And whereas I like to, you know, you use that futsal type mentality.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think it helped a lot, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I've got 2 nephews. One's playing in the A-League now and one's almost there. And they both started with futsal.
Yeah.
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 I think this is
big
great.
one.
Because, like, in Europe, they sort of start with futsal, but on the street, like the
Yeah.
5-a-side pitches.
Yeah. Yeah.
Same sort of thing.
Same thing. Yeah.
Whereas I think that's why if people that play futsal here have that sort of technique about
Yeah.
it.
And you know what I didn't say before, sorry. I think I was telling you all the big messages from all the players. Emily's message actually is so all of them talk about resilience, right? All of them. That's a given. So Emily's message is persistence is key. You know, that ability to keep persisting, keep doing what you love, keep doing what you're doing, and don't stop.
Did you notice like any patterns with all the athletes you interviewed? Was there like a common, apart from resilience, was there anything else that's sort of a common factor?
Their journeys were all different.
Yeah.
But they all experienced setbacks, right? And triumphs too. You know, I never forget that moment that Chloe turned to me and I said to her, you know, we're talking about all the setbacks and all the strains. She had injuries and all these things. And then she said to me, and I said to her, well, did you make the World Cup squad in the end? She looked at me and she goes, I made the World Cup squad. And that moment, like, it just sent chills up my spine.
I think because we do tend to focus on the, like, without, if you think about it, a lot of people too.
It's human nature.
It's human nature, yeah. Like, we always think about the negative, but it's like you said. Also, we didn't make it to the end, but, like, there was still a lot of wins and, like, good things along the way.
Absolutely.
But you just straight away naturally think they're the bad things, you know?
Focus
But when
on
you
the-
actually put things into perspective, it's like,
Yeah, and I didn't want the book to just be all the negatives.
yeah.
Like, oh,
you
let's
want
be
it to
real, here.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
it's not just all
Yeah, it's
negatives,
ups
you
and
know.
downs, yeah.
Josh talks about the first time we saw his Socceroos jersey hanging.
Yeah. Special.
You know, like those special moments, because you need to hear those too to understand that all the
Otherwise you're
hardship
like, why am I doing this?
does lead to something great or
Exactly
can lead
right.
to something great, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, there's a lot of that in there too. Yeah, for sure. I wasn't going to leave that out.
Bit of inspiration, definitely.
Yeah, 100%.
Of course. Are there any stories you want to share without ruining the book?
The valuable information you get from the psychologist is brilliant, you know, even for parents. So there's a chapter in there for, you know, for parents on how to help your kids when they're going through times of setback, things like that. Like, that stuff's powerful because, hand on heart, I didn't know what to do, and I wish I had that information all those, like, you know, those few years ago.
I wish my parents had that information.
Yeah, you know,
I-
I did some wrong things because then when she was talking to me about and telling me, oh, we should do this, you do that, you know, this is how we look at it and blah, blah, blah. And I said to her once, I go, I did the wrong thing. She goes, that's all right. She goes, you learn.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
it.
you didn't know. Yeah.
But I didn't know. I thought I was doing the right thing by my child.
Well, that's what you're doing, educating other parents. That's the
Right?
the aim of the book, yeah.
So there is a chapter in there that's quite powerful that gives you really, really good insight
That's
and
huge.
information.
I think there needs to be a
needs to be
book written
just-
for football parents.
Yeah, I agree. Literally.
Because we don't want to go there, but I'm sure you've experienced
Oh,
it.
yeah.
But like,
See them all the time.
you know, you've got parents that don't even know how to kick a ball 5 meters and they're telling
the
their kid,
expert.
do this, do that. Well, what are you telling him? It's like, do I go to the bricklayer and tell him how to do bricks? You know what I mean? No. So
Yeah.
it's a big thing.
Yeah.
Well,
and sometimes they're just trying to help.
They are.
They are.
But
Yeah,
sometimes they're trying to live
love.
vicariously through them too.
Yeah,
Exactly
exactly
right.
right.
You know?
We came from, well, our parents never played. So they were on that journey too, where they were sort of just learning as
Yeah.
as
That
we
was
were
the
going
keeper,
through it.
so
Huh?
didn't really help me.
Oh,
My
yeah,
dad,
that's
he was
right. They
keeper.
played for a
Nah,
bit.
my dad, to be fair, my dad was alright, but he really didn't really, like push me too hard.
But I see it even now with my other job being a PT, strength and conditioning coach, and I train young footballers, and even this is without parents even knowing what I've achieved or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
And I know they've never kicked a ball in their life, but they're watching every single thing I do and questioning every single thing I do, and why aren't you doing this and why aren't you doing that? And I just think, like, come on, man.
But that
Like-
for me, that's a big problem. That's a big football Australia problem. Like it's a problem in Australia because that doesn't happen in Europe.
I think there needs to be more, things mandated. Things like your child shouldn't be training more than 3 or 4 days a week at a certain age. Whatever the whatever's reasonable
feel
according
like-
to medical experts, I suppose.
I saw a document, I don't know if you saw, I posted it the other day. It was supposedly from the FFA,
What
Yeah.
is that?
and it was around strength and conditioning training. And obviously this is what I do. But
Oh yeah.
it basically had like a guideline, like what you're saying. But the guidelines were absolutely no resistance training,
Yeah.
no interval running, no long running, no continuous
age?
running. This was just off-season guidelines. Didn't say what age group or anything. No resistance training, no plyometrics, no this, no that. Only do everything with the ball, and that's it, pretty much, in a nutshell. And I don't know where this comes from. I get that, yes, you need to train with the ball and whatever, but I feel like something comes out like that and it goes too far the other way. Like these are fundamentals
They're
that
given, but you're training with.
you're
the
an
ball.
athlete too. You need to be
Yeah.
doing these sort of things.
Yeah, I get if there's an
So-
age limit
Yeah,
on it,
for age,
like
no,
I
it
know
wasn't even
certain
that,
age,
like-
up until a certain age, you shouldn't be lifting weights and things like that, just body weight and stuff, because it's not good for their growth and what have you. But
I don't know,
after,
there has
I
to
mean,
be
what if you're
somewhere-
someone that likes or enjoys doing that kind of thing?
Yeah, I just, yeah.
You know
I
what
don't
it is,
know.
but I think it comes down to like it's almost like the world that we're living in. It's in everything.
Yeah.
You put a guideline in and it goes too much that way or too, what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just like
Yeah.
we need to find the medium, I think.
Yeah, let's
and
just be real.
Just be
Yeah.
normal, like how everyone used to be.
Yeah.
Like, let's be honest.
You're not even that old.
No, I know I'm not that old, but I know when we were growing up, it wasn't as this like,
Complicated.
yeah.
Yeah.
Just like, you just enjoy like
It
we
was fun.
play.
And you
was
know
fun.
what? The other thing too, guys, is I don't know if you're familiar with the system now, but when my brother played, so he's in his 40s now, he stayed with the same team for years, right? It was the same team right from junior right through to, I don't know, till he was 16, 17, whatever. So he formed those friendships to the point where he still sees some of them today, right? There's so much chopping and changing
Oh, yeah.
every single year now from under 8s to under, in the mini roos. So it's under 8s to under 12s, under 13, sorry, because, they're looking for a better coach or they're looking for a winning team or they're, teams are folding and then people are having forced to go look for another team. So there's all this separation. So from one year to the next, these kids aren't even being given a chance to get out of the game other things that perhaps,
Yeah.
because if you don't make it, you want to look back and go,
Yeah.
oh, yeah, but look at these friendships
Yeah,
like
yeah,
you two
yeah.
have
Yeah.
that I formed. They're not
No,
getting that.
they don't get that chance to.
We used to go camping with my brother's team and their families.
I don't think that happens anymore. We went on a few. I don't think that happens
Well,
anymore.
when we were with like a Davo boys, Alan's team, we were actually mates outside. Like we used to go out. Remember,
Yeah.
we were, at that time, we were like mates. But then obviously as we got older, but still, if we see each other, we'll say we keep in contact and that. But you're right. I think it's true because at that age, like that's what they should be doing, like going out together, they're friends.
100%.
But like, I don't think that's going to happen these days.
Yeah.
Because like you said, everyone's trying to, we got to go here because Jose Mourinho's coaching this.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
that type of thing.
Yeah,
That's the
yeah.
mentality.
They're
And it's like,
looking
man,
for something
you're like
better.
14.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Look, they're all the same. These coaches, they just say that they've done this. They're all like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. And the other thing too that is in the book is that it addresses, especially the psychologist addresses kids that put pressure on themselves as well, you know, looking at where that comes from and how to help them and how to make them see that, you know, just because Joe Bloggs is training 5 days a week doesn't mean it's right for you. And I, you know, hand on heart, I'm guilty of that because one of my sons, I think I mentioned before, does put pressure on himself. And, you know, he pushed me and pushed me and pushed me to start doing more of these academy training and stuff. And I kept saying no, And then he was getting up every morning and kicking a ball before school. Right? I used to wake up to the ball hitting the brick wall every day. And one day he said to me, what else do I need to do to prove to you that I want to do extra training and I'm okay and I'm ready? Right? So as a parent, I went, all right, we'll give it a go. We'll see how we go. But if it's too much, we're stopping. Right? So we're trotting along. He was doing all right, whatever. Come the end of the season, he was like dead to the world. You know, he was, you know, we had tears, can't move, I can't do this anymore. I said, see, mate. Yeah. So you know what we've done? No soccer. We're having a break, you know, because he's only 12. Yeah. Guys, he's only 12. You know, and that's a mistake I made. You know, I caved when I shouldn't have.
Yeah.
You know, and sometimes, like I said before, I wish I had this advice before because I probably would have stuck to my guns. But then having said that, sometimes the best lessons you learn too are the ones that you make yourself. He now knows that we all have a limit.
Absolutely.
And this is going to make him a better person.
Yeah, definitely.
Had I kept saying no, so my nephew actually gave me this, you know, his wisdom. And he said to me, Auntie, he said, if you had kept saying no, he'd still be badgering you today. He said, some of the best lessons I've learned are the ones where I've learned myself. So I'm hoping that he's learned his lesson and needs to understand that, you know, balance is important.
Is he going to keep playing?
Oh, yeah. No, he's just having it's end of season.
Yeah.
He said, can I still do my one-on-ones? Because he does one-on-ones with someone he really likes. And can I keep playing at lunchtime at school with my friends?
Of course.
I said, mate, of course you can. That's fun for you.
Yeah.
You know, it's not structured.
You don't want it to become a chore.
Yeah, that's right. So he plays at lunchtime and with his friends and whatever. But then one night a week he'll meet up with his mate.
Yeah.
Who's much older than him, but it's his mate. And he'll you know, they do just 1 hour one-on-ones. That's it.
Nice.
You know, and he'll go back, you know, he was doing a tournament. We said no now. So he's out of that and he'll start back next season. And you know what? He'll probably be more refreshed, more ready and more happy.
Definitely.
That's it.
And that's what matters, right?
Exactly right. What would you say was the biggest takeaway from this whole experience of writing this book?
Doesn't matter what sport or career you're pursuing, it's never a straight line.
And the persistence then comes into it. See, that's a life skill.
It's a life skill.
Yeah.
You know, you may not get that promotion you want straight away. Yeah. You may not get that house that you want straight away. Does it mean you give up? No, you keep saving for that house or you try for that job next time it comes up and it's available. It's never a straight line.
That's the thing we've learned a lot through football is like the mentality in just everyday life, like these type of things.
The
like,
life lessons,
you know, like that. Like if you just keep going, like things then happen, you know, it works out. But you could have stopped. You could stop, and then the next week something good would have happened. But you just gave up 1 week before, you know? So it's just like, just keep going.
I think that's the beauty of football, but not even only just football. I think just sport in general.
Yeah.
The other, you strip it all back, the values that you learn along the way is
discipline,
everything.
You know, reach a goal, try and reach a goal.
Yeah. Definitely. Dealing with different personalities.
That's a big one. Yeah,
definitely.
Right?
It was like in the work force, you know, you're not going to like everyone. You might not get along with everyone,
That's
but
right.
You're there to do a job. You don't have to be best mates. And it's sort of the same at your job. You know, you've got to keep it professional.
Different management styles.
Yeah.
You know, because you're going to get different types of coaches throughout your, you know, your sport journey.
Definitely.
I know you sort of mentioned it before, but do you think enough's being done around mental health for footballers at the moment? Because I know I sort of watched something half recently. I think you saw it too about the Premier League academy players that get dropped. Remember it was a while ago we watched it.
The percentage of them that end
Was
up
it on
with a mental
YouTube?
health diagnosis.
Yeah, and
read
then
it.
like there was a percentage of young boys who commit suicide
Yeah,
and all other things, and you know,
yeah.
like you said, mental health issues and crap that we've gone through too. Do you think enough's been done?
As per the psychologist said, unfortunately, there is an increase in mental health and suicide at the moment, which is really sad. And that's not just pertaining to sport. That's a lot of it, I think, is attributed by social media. But you know, I think about that poor young lad from Manchester City that took his life, and I think, you know, if I strip it back to here in Australia, I know that some A-League clubs have got their own psychologists now. It's taken time, but I think they've got them now. I think there's still a little bit of a stigma. It's going, but there's still a little bit. So whether the players actually utilise it or not, I don't know. Diogo sort of mentions in the book that certainly at Western United they do. But for the younger kids, you know, at Mini Roos level or NPL level, probably not.
Yeah.
Which is when they're the most impressionable, right? Because that's, when you think NPL, that's 13 years old to 18. So that's when you're probably the most vulnerable.
Definitely. I think, yeah, if we had someone to talk to, especially around that age. But I think it's different as well. Like, I don't know, I think about these Premier League boys and I feel like we've said this before, we're sort of spoiled here. Like,
We
yes.
were different too, man, with Alan, I think.
We were
Our
different.
journey was different.
But also, like, it came crashing down and all the rest. We went through the crap, but also we knew that if we really wanted to change our life, we could, because we're in, you know, Australia. There's plenty of opportunities, could have gone back to school, could have done it all. I think, like, overseas, like, that is literally their way out.
It's more, yeah,
I think it's more cutthroat too.
Yeah,
I
definitely.
think.
Diogo says, and this is really powerful actually in the book, he says, so one of his teammates at Porto at the time said to him, if I don't make it, I will end up behind
I
bars.
remember him telling
Yeah, I think he
telling
told
us
us that
this.
too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I remember that.
And Diogo said, why?
Yeah.
And he said, because at least I'll get fed
Yeah.
in prison.
Yeah.
You know, so I
Maybe
think in
even-
some
That's
parts
one
of
of
the
the reality.
world,
Yeah, in some parts, 100%.
it is more, there's more at stake.
Definitely.
Yeah. So we are lucky here in that aspect. And, you know, there's other things you can do here. There's plenty of things you could do in football, guys.
Yeah.
There's podcasts you can do. You know, there's coaching.
Yeah.
There's,
Yeah.
you know, being a trainer. There's physio. There's, you know, sports admin roles, marketing roles. You can be involved in the sport that you love in some capacity if you're willing to put in the work to do it.
Yeah. Yeah,
You know?
definitely. And I think the other side of thing too is like just acceptance. I think that was big for us. Just getting over the fact that it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
Like it didn't happen. So just move on with it. And I think if someone had told us that when it first sort of happened, obviously it's like you lose someone, you know what I mean? Like there's a grieving
you're mourning
period.
something.
Yeah, exactly.
You're literally mourning the loss of something you have spent your whole entire life chasing.
Correct. And
Yeah.
I think that's why we ended up doing this.
Yeah.
Is because like I'd hate for someone else in the same sort of position that we were in to go through the same shit.
Yeah.
Because it's crap.
Yeah.
You know, it's
and
not
you're
a good
amongst
feeling.
the norm, guys.
Yeah, I know.
In
exactly.
fact, you probably got further than a lot of others, but
Yeah.
Oh, still.
Nah,
but
you're, right.
you're amongst the norm.
Yeah.
You know?
100%. I think now it's like you can, when I say accept that, you accept that in a way that's different. Like also when it happened, I think like you're too emotionally like charged, let's say, yeah, and you're just like full of, to be honest, like I not hated football, but literally what you were saying about, I think Chloe in the book, how she, like the love, or I think the Toronto twins.
The Toronto twins,
And
remembering
that's
to
the
find
thing.
the joy.
And then I was the same. Like I was like, you know, F this game, like, you know, I'm over this bullshit. Like then you start to realise the game is what actually makes you happy. It's all the bullshit around it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And,
Yeah.
and even like to this day, like playing football makes me happy
Yeah.
because it's just enjoyment.
Yeah.
Win, compete, whatever.
Yeah.
And you realise it's not the game that causes all these problems.
Yeah. It's a beautiful game.
Yeah.
There's a reason why they say that.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? It really is.
The game is beautiful.
The game is
It's
beautiful.
true. It's all the bullshit around it.
Yeah.
But
People ruin it.
it's like a lot of things in life.
There's politics everywhere, guys.
It's true. Obviously, this book is there a release date?
So it'll be released in stores beginning of next year.
Mm-hmm.
But if you pre-order now, before the 13th of December, you will have it in time for Christmas.
There you go. Make sure you go and
So-
pre-order.
We'll put the links on now.
Yeah,
you go to like a
definitely.
website.
Yeah.
definitely.
Social and stuff.
Yeah,
share
and
all
I really want to take this opportunity to give a shout out to the publisher, if that's all right.
Yeah, of course,
Fair
that's
Play
right.
Publishing, because they were very open and honest with me from day one when they said, look, Amy, we're not going to be able to get it out when you want it to come out, because I wanted it to come out right either in the middle or straight after trial season, right, which was just a couple of weeks ago and before Christmas. So that little gap there. And they said, look, we're not going to. Anyway, they obviously put all hands on deck and they've made it happen. So we've just finished trial season. I'm sure there's a lot of families out there who might have, kids that can do with it right now. And, I just urge them to pick up a copy because it's a Christmas gift perhaps that can make a difference to their lives, yeah.
Definitely. Do you think you'll maybe come out with another one after this?
I keep getting asked that. Look,
Because there's so
I'm
many
not.
people to interview, right?
I know. So if the opportunity arises, maybe. There's so many different avenues. I've had people say to me, "Oh, can you do one for basketball? Can you do one for,
You're gonna ask you to do
gymnastics
romance
and-
bubble soon.
all this kind of stuff?" And I think, wow, because it's obviously this is not just in soccer. This is universal,
general,
right?
yeah, exactly.
Had some people reach out to me as I was writing it and say, "Oh, this guy wants to tell you their story," and this guy said, "Well, they're all from South America," and I think everyone wants to tell their story.
Yeah.
That's how many people have got a story, guys.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to say no, but I don't know. Like it depends what opportunity comes my way, I think.
Just out of curiosity, how long did it take, start to finish?
Took me about 12 months of writing.
Yeah, it's a lot.
How many
and
pages
then-
was that? Was it Microsoft you used?
Plain old Word document.
Word document. How many
That's all it was.
pages was that?
I think it was 140,
I don't know.
something like that.
Yeah, it would take a while.
And then another 8-9 months to the point we're at now where we can actually, it's ready. So, you can order it. I'm actually having a launch for it, not next week, the week after.
Oh, cool.
And by then I'll finally have a
Have a copy.
hard copy in my hand where I can actually look at it and go, oh my God, it's real.
Finally.
Yeah.
Do you have any sort of a piece of advice, let's say, after learning all of this, interviewing all these athletes, writing about it all? Maybe someone who is going through it at the moment, either a kid or someone who's just found out they're not good enough. Would you give a piece of advice to them?
For those that are just going through the system, maybe they haven't been dropped or anything yet, I'd say just continue, just enjoy the journey, And then for those that have perhaps been dropped and they're trying to grapple with that and accept that right now, I'd probably say to them it's not over. You can find joy playing again in the lower leagues.
Thank you so much, Amy.
Thank you.
This has been a special one for us, definitely. Absolutely love what you're doing and think
Thank you.
it's super, super important.
Thank you.
We're going to push the shit out of it. So we're going to plaster it everywhere because it really hits home. So
Yeah.
thank
yeah.
you just
No.
for doing what you're doing too.
Thank you for having me and thank you for doing what you're doing too. Between the three of us, hopefully we can really
Yeah, hopefully.
make a difference to many lives. Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So you heard it from Amy. Make sure you pre-order on the website.
Yep. makingitornot.com.
There you go, nice and easy. We'll post all the links anyway. But once again, thank you very much for tuning in to the Almost Made It podcast. A few other crazy guests coming your way. We've got a few funny ones coming up. So make sure you keep an eye out. And thank you. We'll see you next time.